and killing innocent civilians are wrong.
So look, Hamas were wrong to do it?
You're browbeating me into trying to
I'm
say
just asking
Hamas
for a
was
straightforward
wrong.
answer.
This was a horrific terrorist attack. I already answered you.
You just said you think they're killing too many children.
One is too many.
Fine, but it's not laughable, is it?
Listen, I'm not going to give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas. What I will do is condemn the policies that precipitate violence.
Abby, let me ask you the question which has made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
Piers Morgan just couldn't resist, could he? Welcome back, everybody. And we're jumping straight into the lion's den. Abby Martin, unapologetical journalist versus the king of selective outrage himself, Condemn or Die Morgan, backed up with Emily parroting talking points with the Olympic-level mental gymnastics. The showdown? A heated face-off over Israel's devastating Gaza offense, where Abby doesn't just hold her ground, she rips apart the playbook, while Piers obsesses over performative Hamas condemnation was like a broken record stuck on repeat. Now a year later, this debate wasn't just a one-time clash, it's a damning crystal ball, revealing how the same tired narrative continued to justify unspeakable carnage today. Buckle up, it's about to get uncomfortable.
On this, you've got the UN, you've got the ICJ, you've got increasingly the Americans actually trying to distance themselves from what's happening here. A growing sense that there is, if not full-blown genocide, a version of genocide happening here that meets quite a few criteria.
I mean, I think the definition of genocide requires intent to destroy a nation, and that is not what we're seeing. It's not what we've seen since day one. You have to remember the fact that this war was not started by Israel.
There was a cabinet minister who actually said he would be happy to drop a nuclear bomb on Gaza. That would have been the destruction.
Well, there are plenty of stupid comments from many Israeli politicians that I don't agree with.
But you said earlier that nobody on
But this is not the same thing. We did not start this war. This is not a war we wanted. It is not a war we started.
I've made that point very clear.
Israel does have the ability to commit genocide, and they are not. Why would we send 17,000 trucks of aid?
That's such an abuser, crazy thing to say. You have a gun to the head of Palestinians saying, we could commit genocide.
Hang on, don't all talk over each other. I want to finish my point about the cabinet member who said that was quite crystal clear in his genocidal intent. He thought it would be fine to drop a bomb, a nuclear bomb, on Gaza. You said earlier that nobody on the cabinet, nobody under Netanyahu from the start of his war, had ever espoused any genocidal thoughts or statements. He did that, guy.
I didn't say that no one in the government has said that. I said that the quotes she specifically mentioned are inaccurate.
Right, but what about the guy who got fired specifically for saying that about dropping a nuclear bomb? Right,
so
do you accept there have been people with that mindset on the cabinet?
I think that there are people who have made all kinds of egregious statements on both sides, and I can give you a few examples of genocidal intent if you want from the other side, because that's really the only side that has proven genocidal
we can come to that. We can come to that. But on that point, do you accept then that there are people in Israeli government, albeit he was fired for it, who have espoused genocidal sentiment? They have.
I don't know of anyone who is in the current Israeli government that would support any form of genocide.
Right.
Has anyone ever?
Of
course,
ruling.
people have on both
5
sides.
pages.
Okay, Abby?
5 pages. Yeah.
5 pages of people, including social media posts of celebrities, including some of the people I know. That doesn't qualify as a legitimate intent to carry out a genocide. They included one from a comedian on there as well.
Strip.
Not to mention the fact that if we talk about the illegitimacy,
it's completely decimated. Every cultural aspect of life in Gaza has been completely obliterated to make it uninhabitable and unsurvivable for future generations there.
I mean, that is hard
Emily.
That is hard to argue. When you look at what's happened in northern Gaza in particular, it's pretty much been leveled.
I've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Why would anyone expect regular Palestinians to be able to go back to homes that don't exist? Where are they going to go?
Many of them already have started going back, and they need to reconstruct Gaza the same way that they needed to reconstruct Gaza after 2021. But they're going to have to do so together with partners, whether it's Israel, the United States, or other Arab nations, in a post-Hamas reality. And if we're talking about the problem in Gaza and how the Palestinians are suffering, you cannot remove Hamas from this equation. Hamas is the group that has been persecuting the Palestinian people as well.
Well, that is true, Abby. I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question Hamas has been suppressing and oppressing its own people. I think that they have become increasingly vocal in their desire to cause maximum damage to Israel and to Jewish people. They've said since October the 7th through their official spokesman that they will do this again and again and again. That actually is genocidal rhetoric. If you're pledging to destroy a people in as many numbers as you can, as often as you can, that is a form of genocide, isn't it?
Look, what precipitated even the origin of Hamas? Hamas didn't just grow out of thin air. I mean, it was precipitated by
but what about my question, though?
Decades of brutal occupation and ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, but what about my question?
The question whether or not Hamas is genocidal in its intent, I disagree. And Emily's saying, look, Hamas is reacting. They're an armed resistance group trying to fight for their liberation.
I'm not justifying anything that they've
done. The United States also called Nelson Mandela and the ANC a terrorist organization. I think they're an armed resistance group trying to fight for the liberation of Palestine.
Do you think they're a
terrorist
organization?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory... Do you think Israel's a terrorist organization,
Of course
Emily?
not.
Do you think Israel's a terrorist
Of course
organization?
not.
Well,
can you answer my question? Do you think Hamas is a terrorist organization?
I already did. Let me explain something to you.
Do you think that the acts committed on October 7th were legitimate? You think that gang rape, that mass rape,
the acts that Israel did that precipitated October 7th?
Hang on, look.
Do you think October 6th, 5th, 4th,
Abby, let me ask you the question which has made me infamous, famous, whatever you want to do. But do you condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th?
I'm not going to sit here and give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas.
It was a terrorist attack of appalling magnitude.
Of what I think.
Surely on pure humanity grounds.
Piers, listen.
You cannot watch the devastating murder of 1,200 people and not say it was a despicable terror act and condemn the people who did it.
Look, listen, I'm not going to give an obligatory condemnation of Hamas. What I will do is condemn the policies that precipitate violence. What I will do is condemn the roots of the violence, because inevitably you will have blowback when you deny millions of people basic human rights, when they're living under brutal medieval siege and barbaric military occupation, a fascist military occupation in the West Bank. Hamas doesn't govern the West Bank. Look at what Israel has done in the West Bank since October 7th.
You can't condemn Hamas for what they did on October the 7th.
This is not about Hamas.
Well, it's all about Hamas.
I condemn what will beget violence inevitably.
What are you talking
I'm not
about?
going to sit here and condemn Hamas.
The entire war.
I'm sorry?
This entire war has been because of what Hamas did on October the 7th. You could go back in history.
Not.
You could go back in history
Piers.
and you can find arguments on both sides in the last 70 years. Right, I've had the arguments many times.
No, because
you cannot
see,
dispute
what you're doing is...
What am I doing?
What you're doing is conflating and pretending like there are two equal sides. Oh, they've just been fighting for decades. There's always reasons on both sides to start the violence. No, that's not true. There's one side that's an occupying, colonizing force that continuously and violently expels and subjugates and brutalizes and terrorizes the other side. They are living under the boot of Israeli authorities, whether you're in Gaza and occupied completely militarily by the outside, or whether you're living under a fascist military dictatorship in the West Bank.
So if you believe,
violence.
Okay,
that is the root of the violence. This is 75 years of ethnic cleansing and apartheid.
All right, I hear you. Let me ask you this. If you believe then that Hamas are a armed resistance, as you put it, and they have, presumably then you believe what they did on October the 7th was justified, do you?
I didn't say that. No, absolutely
well,
not.
Wouldn't that be
I'm not sitting here justifying anything.
Isn't the logical extension of your argument? If you believe they're an armed resistance and they are doing what they're doing because they are responding to acts of terror by another side, surely you would say that what they did was justified. Or if it's not justified, what is it? You either condemn it or you think it's justified. I don't think you can sit in the middle, can you?
Look, I don't need to sit here and give a condemnation of Hamas. I can explain why Hamas exists. I don't have to support what they did. I don't have to justify or rationalize it.
Yes, so violence in the face of rape as a
person who studies history
is complicity.
You can sit as a person who studies history. Emily, you're doing the exact same thing and you're projecting it on me. Okay, so do you condemn the actions of Israel for killing 13,000 children?
I don't accept that 13,000 children have been killed. That hasn't anything that's been verified.
This is the problem.
But it depends on the context of what's happening. Do I condemn certain actions of the state of Israel?
Palestinians their reality.
Do I think Israel is always right? Of course
not. Palestinians their reality. This is why Palestinians have to show their dead kids on camera.
Do I think everything Israel has done, even in this war, is correct? No. There's no problem with saying that.
What has been wrong? What have they done?
I already said the same thing about
Abby.
Hamas.
Hang on,
Emily.
Abby.
I already said the
Hang
same
on,
thing
Abby.
about Hamas.
Emily, tell me what Israel's done that's wrong in your eyes.
I think that should have been a priority from the beginning in order to plan a safe evacuation route before they implemented a military plan. I think that everything has been done too late.
Okay. Abby, what would you say Hamas have done wrong?
Again, I'm not going to sit up here. I don't even know really what happened.
You can't
on
find
October
How hard
7th
anything-
is it to condemn rape?
You can't find anything to say they did that
all
was
of the
wrong?
lies that have been perpetrated. Look, Hamas killing civilians, I'm sure atrocities were committed on both sides on October 7th. I'm
On
sure
October
that
7th,
many
atrocities
civilians
were
killed.
committed.
I don't know.
What
I don't
atrocities
know
did
how
Israel
many
commit on
civilians
October
were
7th?
killed by Israel. Emily, I can't even hear myself talk because you just can't stop
All right,
talking.
let Abby speak.
There's so many lies that were put out by Israeli authorities that it's really hard to parse through. Look, I mean, we don't know how many civilians were killed in the crossfire by Israeli soldiers enlisting the Hannibal Directive. So, look, the mass rape,
What
the
about
beheaded babies, the ripping the babies out of pregnant women's stomachs. I mean, all of these things are such egregious lies that I really
What
just
about the-
can't sit
okay,
up here
what-
and condemn
Abby,
things that I don't even know what happened
What
or not.
about the atrocities which Hamas recorded and filmed themselves and then posted to the world to brazenly boast about what they were doing? What about that?
Look, nothing that Hamas did on October 7th compares to what Israel has done in response.
I'm asking
and
you a
what
direct
precipitated
question
October 7th.
about the fact that they boasted about the
but
mass
thing
murder
is, you
they were
guys
committing.
just make it all about October 7th, and that's what I'm saying. It all pales in comparison, Piers,
But if
to
you
everything
can't
that
condemn
precipitated
anything
October 7th
Hamas
and
has
everything
done.
that happened, I already said.
You haven't
I already
condemned
said
them.
killing civilians is wrong.
So what
Killing
they did,
civilians is wrong.
So what Hamas did on October 7th
So
was wrong.
what does that make what
hang
Israel
on,
has done?
Hang on, I'm trying to unpick your argument. So if it's wrong to kill civilians, were Hamas wrong to do what they did on October the 7th, given how many civilians were brutally murdered?
Are you doing the same thing to Emily? And if not,
just asking,
why?
do you think it was wrong?
Why are you not sitting her
Do you
and
think it
picking
was
apart,
wrong?
Is it wrong to kill 13,000
Why
children?
can't you answer a
Is it
simple
wrong
question?
to kill
Actually, he did ask
100?
this.
I already said it.
Was
Piers.
it wrong?
I'm not going to sit here. You're basically comparing Hamas to Israel.
No, I'm not comparing anything.
that's
You
really
said just
unfortunate.
now,
Yes,
unless I'm mistaken, you just said to me that the killing of innocent civilians is wrong. I then asked you, fairly self-evidently, I think, the question, that in that case, given that Hamas showed us on tape them killing civilians, innocent civilians, on October the 7th, do you accept that was wrong? Yes or no?
You saw the tape?
Yeah,
Piers?
they showed us.
You saw the tape of them killing innocent civilians?
Yes, they literally broadcast it to the world. Yes, we all did.
And so do Israeli soldiers
Fine,
in a
why can't
depraved
you
fashion.
forget
It's
Israel
like
for a
watching,
moment?
It's like watching.
Forget Israel for a moment.
It's like watching Nazis.
If it's wrong to kill
during World
innocent
War II
civilians, Abby,
on social media.
Abby just dropped truth bombs louder than a fart in church, impossible to ignore and hilarious to watch explode. Let's break this down. Piers Morgan barged in yelling controversy like a 5-year-old hyped up on Mountain Dew, thinking louder means smarter. While Emily flip-flopped harder than a fish on dry land, Abby didn't just win, she owned the game, roasting Piers' stale talking points faster than your grandma roasting veggies at Thanksgiving. She tossed facts like a chess champ, doing stand-up comedy, sharp, ruthless, and damn funny. Emily's natural act? Come on. She changed positions so many times you'd think she's auditioning to be a human wind turbine. If you're not Team Abby yet, seriously, what's your hobby? Paying taxes for fun? Smash that subscribe button, smack that bell like it owes you money, and join the revolution against boring, reheated hot takes. Abby for president? Make a trend for Piers trademarks, fake outrage, and charge royalties. Sound off in the comments. Is Abby the absolute goat of greedy truth-telling? Or are you still clinging to Piers' sad little participation ribbon? Emily fans, chime in too, if you could ever pick a side. Catch y'all on the next showdown.